Lots of fun news today. Seems that we've got a new teaser trailer that is showing off some upcoming 40k models, a curious case of rhinos inside rhinos in the new Agents Codex, a massive horde list of over 100 Black Templars winning one of the single most cutthroat Warhammer 40k singles tournaments around, and a new datasheet download for the Sisters of Battle Aveline miniature. Let's talk about all that and a bit more. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where today I thought I'd do a big roundup of all the 40k stuff that's going on, stuff that I found interesting and I thought you guys might want to see, but I didn't really think needed a full video all to itself. In this one we've got new Scions teased in a little trailer by Games Workshop, Imperial Rhinos with some slightly broken rules, a big horde list of Black Templars that seems to have done well in top tier competitive play, a Legends datasheet for Celestian, Sacresant, Aveline, looking in at all the Agents of the Imperium releases and how well they've done in terms of the Battleforce sales and things. Another lore teaser for Games Workshop's Chalnath Kill Team set, which interestingly enough is mentioning the Orcs, and then a whole bunch of Skaven Reveals from their Slaughter at Hellcrown type thing. It's been quite a busy last few days all in all. First up, let's start with that teaser trailer, and it looks like that takes us to the dark skies in the Chalnath region. A whole bunch of what looks like Militarum Tempestus Scions with jump packs, making a daring aerial insertion onto a great tower-like structure with a whole load of explosions going on around it. I'd guess that tower type thing might be the whole super weapon type thing that they're building up in the lore. And this one's almost certainly the teaser for the next Kill Team box set, which seems to have been rumoured to be Scions vs Vespid for a while now. The trailer ends with Look to the Skies on the 16th of August 2024, so it seems that that'll be the date when we get a proper look at the box set. Seems that there'll be a reveal of some sort next Friday. Should be interesting to take a look. If the rumours are true, it's Scions vs Vespid, and it does seem that Games Workshop has given us some really good reasons to think that, given that they basically had literally a lore teaser saying that Scions were being deployed to one area, and then they had the Tau counterpart to that saying that they're going to respond with alien auxiliaries. We've already had absolutely tons of Kroots, but mysteriously no Vespid updates, and it doesn't really feel too hard to read between the lines, particularly if the one side has jump packs. Should be interesting to get some new model updates for Warhammer 40k. Kind of cool that the Imperial Guard are actually going to get a jump pack unit, and always fun to have an expansion of the options available for the Tempestus Scions as well. They're sort of like a sub-army, but don't really have enough units to really make them work as a standalone at all. I'll certainly look forward to covering any news that we get next Friday. Next up, well, there's certainly been some mixed feelings about the Agents Codex coming out. On the one hand, I feel like it's kind of fun that you can field Inquisition more or less as their own thing, but plenty of criticisms in what they did to the Death Watch, and the fact that it maybe just feels like a bit of a cobbled together army that might really struggle against other normal armies in 40k, partly due to not having many good options for dealing with enemy heavies. In any case, one of the more funny things that came out of the Imperial Agents book was the fact that Games Workshop made a small typo in the Imperial Rhino transport section, and it looks like that's another case of a model that you can now play nesting dolls with, due to them being a little bit lax in the keywords on the transport section. It merely says that this model has the transport capacity of 12 Agents of the Imperium models. It cannot transport Terminator or Officio Assassinorum models, but notably doesn't say that they actually have to be infantry models at all. And there are things in the Agent Codex that don't really belong inside the Rhino, such as the Corvus Blackstar or the Inquisitorial Chimera. Just kind of funny to think that you could have an army where one Rhino transports 6 Chimeras and 3 Corvus Blackstars into battle, presumably quite a big hold with some high tech there. Or even have some sort of nesting doll type situation where you have Imperial Rhinos inside of Imperial Rhinos, all the way down to, say, some Navigator sat right in the middle of all of them. It's obviously just going to get patched out when the errata update for the Codex drops, though I think I'm not the only person who found it kind of amusing. Next up, the big and all very prestigious World Team Championships have been happening this week. The biggest focus is on the team event, where teams from around the world play each other. And it's all very highbrow competitive 40k, with clever tactics and optimised lists going on both at the individual and the team level. But it seems that before they have that tournament, they also have a singles tournament called the WTC War Master. Again, really quite a big and competitive affair, even if it might be an event that probably has a bit of a different sort of character compared with plenty of other singles 40k tournaments out there, as a lot of people might be playing with teams lists which often have weird combinations or skews to them. Still though, it does look like it means that a very oddball and cool list has won, with an 115 model Black Templar Horde list winning the WTC Singles Championship, using Righteous Crusaders and played by an Olivier Weiss. This one really is a good and proper Black Templar Black Tide with a spectacular amount of Astartes power armor and a bunch of scout bodies on the board. I'd guess mostly with 6+ feel no pain most games due to their Templar vows. You could swap them out for sustained hits, lethal hits, or anti-psyker as well depending on the opponent. The big core of the list is 5 enormous Primaris Crusader squads with 4 power fists in them, the rest mostly with chainswords, loads of objective control, and enough quality volume attacks that you can't really ignore them, or just get into combat with them and not expect to take a whole bunch of damage, particularly when they're led by characters, of which there are several here. They do have a few nasty melee tricks as well, like having the chance to lock enemies in close combat, and flexing into the other vows as needed if they're led by characters which can up the damage against the right target, like jumping into lethal hits. They've also got a massive amount of objective control as well, and just means that the list would have crazy board control, being able to spread out and deny deep strike reserves, and pile on an absolute ton of objective control to the mid-board points when it needs to. As if 100 Space Marine bodies weren't enough though, there's also 2 sets of 5 scouts with missile, sniper, chainsword and knives. They could infiltrate to do a bit of screening against certain opponents if needed, and potentially go jumping around the board to do secondaries later in the game. And then to lead all the forces, there's a Castellan with 10 Houses Bones, lethal hits for his unit, plus a 5+ feel no pain type save. Chaplain Grimaldus, which can give you a 5+ feel no pain on a different unit, though can flex out to other things in a pinch. A Chaplain that can give one unit a nice +1 to wound, so makes them far more of a general purpose melee threat. High Marshal Heldrake, who will be able to demolish just about anything in close combat when he's backed up by that many troops. I guess he might go in the same unit as the Castellan, as they work really quite nicely together to make one squad just spectacularly dangerous. And then finally there's a combi weapon lieutenant for a little bit of tricky scoring and doing actions and things, always handy to have a hard to catch up with lone operative about. Looks like the initial game was a 10-all draw to World Eaters by WTC scoring. Then went on to beat Blood Angels, Demons, Grey Knights, Tyranids, Sisters, Thousand Sons and Necrons in that order. All very impressive given that these are all going to be hard lists played by some of the best players around. I feel like you're unlikely to get as many 40k tournaments that have quite so many people that are quite so hardline competitive playing as at this sort of event. In any case, all very cool. Certainly must take a whole load of time, effort and practice to play this efficiently. You've got lots of models on the table and all of them have a lot of dice to throw. The die kind of important to throw as well. Plus lots of feel no pains that can make a bit of dice rolling a pain. It looks like he was streamed on Wargame Live as well if you wanted to check it out. I noticed a few loom bands being used to denote different units. Next up, we've got a new datasheet in a Legends datasheet for Celestian, Sacresant, Aveline. This one's on Warhammer Community and is available to download now. They had said previously that they were going to be releasing a datasheet for her when she went on sale, and that does appear to have been the case. As expected, like the recent Black Library miniature of Black Hawk, it doesn't look like she's going to be a permanent part of the Sisters range, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame given that she's really quite a cool sculpt in my opinion. The datasheet that she has is a pretty interesting one though. A toughness 3 4-wound character with a 3+ save, a 4+ invulnerable, and a 6+ feel no pain. She's a lone operative, which is interesting, particularly she's listed at 45 points. I feel like just about any 45-point lone operative is going to be massively interesting to most armies out there for competitive type play, and I may be a little bit surprised that she isn't a leader option for a Sacresant squad. In any case, she gets a Ministorum Handflamer, and then the Thorn of the White Rose, which is 4 attacks at Strength 5, AP 2 and Damage 2, with a once per game buff to 7 attacks, all at that same profile with devastating wounds. And given that she's a Demon Breaker with the Slain Bloodletter head on her base, you get to reroll hits and wounds against demons as well, so unusually savage against them. Kind of a shame that she isn't just a model being added into the range, as she looks like she's been really quite popular in terms of model sales over the weekend and things. She was one of the most sought out miniatures of this time's release. Looks like Element Games have got some copies of her left in the UK, or 20% discount. Could be one option to pick her up if you're in the UK and want it at a discount. In any case though, this is a Legends datasheet, so meant for slightly more casual games, not going to be tournament optimised or anything like that, and won't be adjusted if people think that the rules are too strong or too weak. To be honest, at 45 points for a lone operative with really quite a punchy melee attack, I feel like she looks very strong for that kind of utility, and I suspect that she would make it into competitive lists if she was released like this. I guess if you do want to be able to run her in a Sisters of Battle army and not use the Legends rules, probably a Palatine or the Caroness might be one of the best bets. The base size isn't a perfect match, but I feel like unless you're at an actual grand tournament or something, and provided you're not trying to go out and gain an advantage from the big base in whatever way, realistically I don't think it'd cause that many problems. I saw someone suggesting running her as Junitha Rita as well, given that you do have a hand flamer and a sort of burning blade type thing. Perhaps that could be enough to warrant the heavy flamer sort of proxy. Talking of model releases, I was interested to check in on how the Agents of the Imperium release is going. In particular, the Battleforces, which Games Workshop tends to be really quite irregular about whether or not they produce enough for the 40k ones. It looks like at least so far today, there's been broadly pretty good supply of the Battleforce boxes out there. To be honest, I did feel like for Battleforces selling out, I thought that this one would be one of the ones that's a bit less likely to compared with some. Agents of the Imperium just is something that's a bit of a bolt-on type army and a bit of a mismatched new idea. It's not exactly something that has the same sort of following as, say, Chaos Space Marines or some of the more collected Xenos armies. It looks like from the main Warhammer web store, all the 3 Battleforces are in stock in the UK, Australia, and have just come out on the US web store. So good news for people who did want to pick up one of these box sets. Looks like there's not going to be too much difficulty with that. And it looks like in most places around the world they're still available at discount. For the channel's affiliate retailers linked in the video description, looks like Element Games in the UK has sold out of the Hereticus ones, but they still have some good supply of the Xenos and Malleus ones. Kind of interesting that it looked like the Xenos one was the one that was in most demand on the polls I did earlier. They are doing them at a fairly generous discount this time around, 20% off. A lot of the time they just do 15% off for the big Battleforce box sets, so it isn't the worst place to pick them up in the UK. Looks like Wargame Portal sold out of all the Battleforces quite quickly. They still have Combat Patrols and Codexes left for the Imperial agents if you're looking to get them at 15% discount. The Combat Patrol did look more popular than any one singular battle force. It's this one with the RBTs, the Eversaw Assassin, the Henchman and the Priest. Otherwise in Canada, looks like all the 3 Battle Forces are in stock in Fenris Workshop, though Gap Games in Australia have sold out of pretty much everything. Overall, always nice to see Games Workshop actually making enough supply to actually allow people to pick up the box sets and not just have them teasing people with them. I think the release was always going to be a little bit more niche compared with some, and I feel like maybe the Codex leak might have put off at least a few people from it. I can't say that the contents of the Codex were any major surprise to me though. I feel like they were always going to be billed as a bit more of a fun and fluff and flavour type army as opposed to hyper competitive. Though given they've got separate points and things like that, I think it's always possible that Games Workshop could balance them against the rest of the factions in 40k. I really wouldn't be too surprised though if they have to wait for another balanced data slate or something to give the army a bit of a rethink, unless they really point some of the units super cheap in this first points drop. Cycling back to kill teams and Chalnath teasers once more, it looks like Games Workshop has also released a small lore excerpt for the upcoming big box there. We already had an Imperial one with them deploying Scions, the Tower one deploying auxiliaries believed to be Vespid, and now interestingly the third article has been an Ork perspective one where they're planning to try and loot the Imperial super weapon. They're having to do so by sneaking up to get close, and there's a short story featuring a commando, a snakebite and a mech boy, all conspiring to get the Orks in on the action. Compared with the Imperial and the Tower one, it didn't really feel like it was teasing any one kit particularly well. They certainly didn't say send in the Storm Boys or anything like that. It really could just be a bit of lore and setup. The Ork Commandos were perhaps one of the most archetypical kill team kits in the new era of them. It was how the latest kill team version launched them alongside Deathcore of Krieg. Though I guess if we are having a big punch up with a whole bunch of jump pack type units, maybe there might be a chance of Storm Boys. The Commandos were Blood Axes, and that clan is also very well known for Storm Boys too. They do like the discipline stuff and the regimented jumping through the air. Jumping over to Sigmar, and Games Workshop showed off some really quite disturbing Skaven stuff earlier today. They had a reveal show that was the culmination of their slaughter at Hellcrown. This one basically being the Skaven Tide type conflict where people would submit results via the codes in the box set. Skaven looked like they were on course to win it, and indeed they have. So like the Tyranids got for Leviathan, they had all their new miniatures shown off and their army book coming out first. So I guess we'll have a future preview with some Stormcast further down the line. Looks like Games Workshop have got their previews online up and running again. This one was one of those pre-recorded style ones where they had those little interview type things, and then to be honest not really quite enough good pictures of the miniatures still. Though fortunately it came with a Warhammer community article posting a bunch of pictures. I'll be honest, I'm certainly not super clued up with Sigmar backstory or anything like that. I've just been enjoying having a look at some pretty pictures of Skaven models. Here we've got Visic Scour, Prophet of the Horned Rat, really quite a big, chunky and thoroughly disturbing miniature. Not a Skaven I'd want to mess with in a hurry, I suspect. Here we've got the character who was in that silhouette teaser earlier in the week. This one's Kritok Foulblade, a Skaven warlord who looks like he'll be fighting alongside some storm vermin, which I believe got shown off as well, but they didn't really show off a good picture of them. Otherwise, there's a trio of support characters, 2 warlocks, an arch warlock and a warlock galvaneer. I think that one might have been the miniature that got leaked earlier, plus there's also a master molder to make some nice flesh creations. There's a bunch of warlock engineer creations with some acolyte globadiers, a nice bombing unit to sow some havoc in the enemy ranks. I like the little ratty gas mask type things they seem to be wearing hooked up to those tanks. There's a warp grinder, warp stone drill type thing, I guess able to cut through some enemy fortifications. And then finally we have some doom flayers, maybe trying to harness a little bit of the rattling wheel sort of energy. A nice spiked mechanical creation to be ploughing into the enemy ranks. One random social media post that amused me a little bit last week was Games Workshop forgetting the name of the Heldrake. Obviously this one's just supposed to be a little bit of social media engagement. They said we forgot the name of this unit. Is it the Heldrake, the Robo-Dodo, or the Dakkerbird? All of which are fine names, I'm sure, but I do find it kind of funny given the fact that they do seem to have forgotten about it for the most part, at least in terms of balancing or trying to make it an actual part of 40k these days. Whenever I've talked about Chaos unit power on the channel, I've had a fair few people saying, why is my Heldrake so bad these days? Just maybe feels a bit on the nose that Games Workshop are sharing the fact that they've forgotten the name of the thing. Well, they certainly don't seem to be trying to make it any good points-wise. Finally, I thought I'd just finish up with a little bit of channel news, seeing as we were on the topic of the Inquisitorial Battleforces earlier. And one of the ways that a few people might be getting their hands on some is this September giveaway for Auspex Tactics. Well, this one's going to be an extra big one in the light of quite so many big box sets coming out for Warhammer 40k. For the September giveaway, there's going to be 8 winners, and each of those winners can pick one of the Inquisitorial Battleforces or the Blood Angels army set, whichever one they'd like. You can either have the Ordo Xenos, Malleus, or Hereticus Inquisitorial ones, or the Blood Angels Death Company army set with Lamartes, Asterath, the new Codex, and the 21 Death Company miniatures. As ever, there's 2 equal ways to enter, both of them links down in the video description. Either you can support the channel on Patreon for any amount. That gets you automatic entry into the prize giveaways each month, and it is the main way that I can continue doing YouTube as my full-time thing. A massive thank you to anyone backing the channel there. Or you can enter completely for free via supporting the channel via social media. To do that, you do 3 actions: subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Facebook page, and then to actually enter the draw, check back to the channel's Facebook page on the 1st of September. A giveaway post appears at midnight UK time on the 1st, and to enter for the draw, reply to that with a photo of any 40k mini, along with your name and the date handwritten within the same photo, that bit just to stop Facebook bots and spammers, and also see some cool hobby at the same time. Then after that, the draw will be done and the winners announced on the 4th of September. After that, I'll ask you which box sets you like and order them in, and they'll be posted after I've received my orders of them. There'll be further giveaways each and every month, so feel free to check out the links in the video description, either the channel's Patreon page or the Facebook page, and I'll be announcing the results on the 4th of September. In any case, look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on all the 40k news. Would you be tempted to pick up some Scions or Vespid if that is indeed what we get? What do you make of the Imperial Agents, Rhinos, Black Templar Horde lists, and Aveline's datasheets? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below as always. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more like this. I do tend to post new videos just about every day. And finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention the channel's Patreon page once more. It is the main thing that keeps the videos coming, as well as entry to the prize giveaways. There's also a few more bits, things like your name in the credits, seeing certain videos early, and occasional votes to see what sort of thing comes next on the channel, and a few more bits and bobs like Discord roles. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.